and Teller.
Since you caught the Frankenstein reference, I guess you've realized that the Boris Karloff character dying in the burning mill is that's a Frankenstein reference, and so Gruesome dies in the golf mill for
I'm gonna have
the
to go back and look at that because I never would have gotten that reference.
yeah. So that's two Boris Karloff references all together, and so yeah, we everything comes together.
This one's gonna be a tricky question right here. For those who are watching this, I was a contributor to the Dick Tracy wiki the early days. Dimitrioi, and he does most of it now, and I don't even go on there anymore. But I learned on there about the inconsistencies in between Mumbles' appearance and Bonnie Braid's appearance in the 90s. Like, for instance, Mumbles was old and he was on the cusp of dying, and he was trying to get a hold of relatives, Wild Breath and Wrangles and others, and a villain named Feats Diamond was trying to get the fortune that he had hidden. And then he dies and was buried at sea. But then you and Mike Curtis bring him back alive and young. And Bonnie Tracy, even though in the Rick Fletcher era, was grown up and a teacher on a Native American reserve in Washington State, she was a high schooler in Dick Loker's tenure. How would you explain the inconsistencies? Would you consider that like a dimensional distortion that it never happened, or like, for
Um,
instance, you guys made reference to Joe Tracy calling himself Cool Dude during the whole Mumbles storyline.
well, as best I could tell, I tried to make Bonnie look like Rick Fletcher. That was my model for her. And Mumbles, I pretty much tried to go back to Gould. So I'm not real good on that particular continuity. It may have been during Killian's stretch of
Mhm.
writing.
I think so because Max Allan Collins had left the strip before that, and he wouldn't have been one to make an inconsistency like
Oh
that.
no, we figure everything that happened in the strip happened. It's all continuity, except we're not real good on Killian, so we don't necessarily feel we're bound by that.
So
So,
characters like Heartless Mahoney aren't canon.
well, we might, that we're kind of open to possibilities there.
I liked how you guys brought Quiver Tremblay back during the Neo Shaky storyline.
Yeah, but wasn't she a Max Collins character?
She was, but when Dick Loker took over, he made a lot of changes to Fletcher's characters, physically. Angel Top, she didn't either. She didn't have a wig anymore, but her facial structure was completely different. And when she lit TNT at the fusion plant to blow herself up rather than be taken prisoner by Tracy, it was a far cry from the way Fletcher and Collins dreamed it up. And Quiver looked kind of different too. You guys even brought back her facial features and all the things that made her the way she looked in the Fletcher era.
Yeah, I basically, if something's done by Fletcher and Gould, I figure that's how it is,
Mhm.
and I definitely pay my respect to Dick Loker and Killian. We just kind of let go. So no,
You guys make the occasional reference to Gould himself. Like, for instance, when Big Frost was found dead after trying to shoot Chief Brandon during the 80th anniversary storyline, Gould was actually the coroner.
he was,
And
yes.
he said Gould and Tracy's most commonly used phrase, they never win.
They never will.
That must have been a fun one to draw.
So you talk about meta continuities. So we're all comic strip characters live in the same universe, and Chester Gould lives in that universe too. So I think we and Dick Loker actually signed off when it was time to pass over to us. So he's been a character in the strip. So it's
Well, his final story, the Mordred storyline, you guys made canon
yeah,
when
yes.
Sparkle Plenty lost her memory after being attacked by Mindy Ermine, and when she became Mista and she had amnesia. Junior and I think Bonnie were over at that farm and trying to sketch out drawings for like a book having to do with Mordred.
Oh, I think Mordred was a pretty good character. And he's definitely canon as far as I'm concerned.
Was he actually like a humanoid rodent? Because that was left to the imagination.
It kind of looked like that, but like you say, it led. He did come to an end with the rodents.
And there was something I don't want to say odd, but the way Loker, spanned the Mordred storyline, he kept repeating certain panels and actions like weeks after they had already happened.
Well, we'll do that on occasion. I mean, like establishing shots. If we have a good shot and we just it saves a little time and we'll pull it out and just rerun it. But mostly that's the establishing shots that when we do that. So I guess it can be a temptation to pull out previous shots and save a little work.
Okay. This one, a really pressing story, how much you can answer. Have you heard any like rumblings about any plans to bring back other members of Flattop's family, like bring back Frizzletop or even Sharp Top or High Top because they're still alive?
I don't know if we have any plans, but it's always open as far as we're concerned, anybody can come back except Flat Top himself. He is dead. He stays dead as long as we're involved.
Unless it's Honeymoon Tracy with a mask while Tracy's shaving.
Right. Oh, and right, and we had a pretend flashback where somebody was pretending to be Flat Top, but Flat Top himself is always dead.
Mhm.
But like I said, he has this family, and there are always possibilities with all of his. Uh, if anybody's still alive, there's certainly no problem with them coming back, and maybe even if they're not.
Actually, characters being dead has never really stopped you guys before.
No,
BBIs definitely would be an example of that. And you guys did that very elegantly, explaining that he survived the garbage scow with an aqua lung. For those who are watching this, how can fans find your guys' works of Dick Tracy? Because IDW, they do the publishing of compilation books of Gould's original stuff. And the rest of the stuff like Rick Fletcher, Max Allen Collins, and others you'd have to find on eBay or Amazon. You guys, all of your comics are on gocomics.com, but it's kind of cumbersome, especially if you don't know what to look for.
right. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten anybody interested in doing proper compilations of our stuff. We'd love to have everything collected. The only thing we have are like the books you were showing, and that was as giveaways at conventions. We would all have a stack and hand them out basically as free samples as people came by.
Actually, there is one other way. Amazon has an ebook of your guys' early work.
From the, I think it's like our first, yeah, but it turned out to be more trouble for the Tribune than they were getting out of it. So it didn't last. But I'm glad to hear that the one ebook is still around.
Mm-hmm. It's a part of my collection.
Well, good for you. You're an example to us all.
I try. The Crime Stopper galleries that you guys have in the Sunday versions of the strip, who does the research for that? And how do you choose who to honor?
Well, it's our police consultant. We're the only strip with a police consultant. Chester Gould had one. We started out with Jim Doherty, Sergeant Doherty, and now we have Lieutenant Walt Reimer, both policemen, and did the research and chose who to pull out and which things to avoid being a crime victim and
Mhm.
police people to honor. So it's almost entirely up to them. Some of us will, see somebody in the newspapers, or we'll see some crime scam that looks cool, and we'll bring that up to this Walt now. But basically, it's for that's strictly up to the police consultants.
A lot of Gould's original work was inspired from newspaper headlines from his day, like during Prohibition stuff. And Flattop, if I'm not mistaken, was a caricature of Pretty Boy Floyd, which is why you guys gave him the name Floyd Jones.
Oh, I didn't know that. I guess
Really?
that's Mike knew that.
In here, and this is Tracy's Wartime Memories. It's one of my favorite ones. And there's a reference to it in here. Here it is. So on this page right here, Patton and Tracy are looking through their files. He says, "Pretty boy killer from the Cookson Hills."
Uh huh.
And then in the middle panel, isn't he the one who killed all those G-men in the Kansas City massacre?
Uh huh.
Which I think Pretty Boy Floyd was a part of in real life.
Uh huh. Yes.
How do you come up with the designs for villains, like, for instance, Melee and Fish Face and the Jumbler, for example?
Um, well, the Jumbler was, that was a crossover with the Jumble, and actually, Tracy has appeared in the Jumble.
Hmm.
So we tried to have uh, the guy working up his own jumbles. So we just tried to come up with something that matched up with what would be necessary for that storyline.
If I'm not mistaken, the Jumbler, wasn't he the one who was trying to get into that comic shop and take like all the rare comics?
Right, and they knocked a beam out. And,
Mhm.
yeah. Mhm.
This is
Oh,
going to
and
be my last question on this list. Do you acknowledge that there are strong parallels between Dick Tracy and Batman? The examples of Half and Half and the nod to Broadway Bates's brother being a shadow, being the Penguin.
well, of course. I mean, Dick Tracy came first,
Mhm.
Batman came later, and it's generally accepted that Penguin was stolen directly from Broadway Bates. And of course, when we brought Broadway
Also,
back,
Robin the Boy Wonder wasn't the first kid sidekick. Junior was, to my knowledge.
I
There might have been others before that.
and certainly the early Batman stuff didn't just pick up things from Tracy. They picked up everything from the pulps, and everything was around then, and nobody really objected. So Tracy was the look of Tracy really influenced a lot of Batman.
The
And
noir.
yeah,
The only time that would be reversed is Half and Half, because Two Face was already around in Batman. Gould probably never read Batman or anything, but he said that he got the idea for Half and Half from a creamer.
uh, well, that kind of makes sense. But obviously, Two Face was around first.
Hmm.
Last time we brought Half and Half back, there's his face is less. There's less than half and half
We
now.
gave him the moniker Split Face, which was originally a movie villain from the Dick Tracy universe.
Right. Yeah. So he's still around, or I think, but he's kind of a mess.
It wasn't enough that he could train crows to purse snatch.
That's quite a trick.
Yeah. Is Putty Puss dead?
I'm trying to remember, we had him in there. He was in early.
Hmm.
Mm,
In that contest, the lookalike contest for Tracy villains.
yeah. I don't remember if he's. It's so hard to keep up with who's dead and who's not.
Doesn't really matter if they're dead or not. And Stavros Cassadine was dead on General Hospital once before 2001. Then they brought him back through cryogenic freezing, kind of like Dick Loker did with Prune Face.
Mm.
And then after that, Stavros fell down a bottomless pit. And then his mother, Helena Cassadine, brought him back again. And then he died another time. It's a mess. Unless you've got the body, you can't count someone out as being dead in a comic strip or in a soap opera.
Absolutely.
Are there any questions that you have for me, or anything that you want to tell the audience that we haven't touched upon?
Well, I will make a plug for Spencer Beck's site, theartistchoice.com, and where I'll have a lot of my Tracy originals up for sale, probably next month. So that's worth checking out. I do have a site, which is www.joestaton.com. I don't check it or update it much, but it's got information.
Dick Tracy has always been a hero to me, and you and Mike Curtis have revitalized him in a way that Dick Loker couldn't. He couldn't sustain him for as long as he did, especially on his own. But I do not deny that Dick Loker was an excellent political cartoonist and actual Dick Tracy artist.
And a really great guy.
Well, I want to thank you for your time, Joe. I'm glad to have you as a friend, and that we could get Dick Tracy onto YouTube in a way that hasn't been before.
Well, I'm glad you are interested and help get the word about Tracy out.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
And I hope that Mr. Curtis feels better, and give him my best.
Will do. And
All right.
I hope you can interview him sometime.
I hope so. Many thanks to you, and I wish you and your wife all the best.
Thank you. Yeah.
You stay safe.
Yeah, you too. Take care of these days.
Okay. Bye, Mr. Staton.
Bye-bye.